Welcome all to Scripting with Sol. I am Commander Sol, and welcome to the second instalment of the Scripting with Sol series. That is a slightly superfluous introduction, but don't worry about it. In today's tutorial, I will be teaching you how to use if statements, complex monitors, and historic events in the campaign script file. Here we have a monitor for the end of a faction's turn, and inside it is the opening of an if statement. Here we use the identifier for the number of settlements for the faction Portugal. If it is greater than or equal to 5, the if statement fires for the second line, which is if the counter, Angmar 5, is not equal to that little exclamation mark and then the equals sign there means not equal to 1, it will set the counter and increment a different counter before you use the end if statement. This is the basic format of all if statements. An if statement, then we have the condition, the identifier, the condition, another condition, the bit in the middle, and the ending. You can use anything you want inside the if statement, and as conditions for the if statement to trigger, you can use various other things, which you will find in the docudemons. You can also use if statements inside of if statements, and I will quickly find one of those examples. These are called nested ifs. And they are generally considered bad practice in actual coding, but as you do not have select case statements in the scripting language, you have to use nested ifs. Here's one here. This is one here, which is also a hint at what will be in the next tutorial, namely choices. You have an if statement with the condition if the faction is Portugal, that's if the player faction is Portugal, and then if the turn number is this, it will do this. And then you end both if statements. If you miss an if statement, the script file will not parse. Script file parsing is absolutely vital if you wish for the scripts to work at all, and you'll be able to tell if they don't because in most mods there will be messages at the start of the game when you load into your faction. If they do not show up, the script file has not parsed, and you will need to find out why. There are several ways you can do this. The system log is a good one. And otherwise you can use Total War Script Reader, which I will link in the description of this video as well. If statements are relatively simple. They're not easy to mess up, they're very easy to use actually. And they can perform a multitude of different tasks. Here we have, if the faction is not AI controlled, the Saxons faction, then it will send off map these two characters and destroy their bodyguard units. Additionally, it will use the historic events, which I will get onto now instead of after complex monitors, because this is the opportune moment. Historic events are the pop-ups you get in-game. They correspond directly to the historic events file, where you have, for example, Dawn and Austin title, and Dawn and Austin body. Over here you have... Oh, actually, I'd better use the one that we have here. So Elven Generals, which is a starting message. Here it is, Elven Generals. The title and the body. You only need to specify the overarching name of the historic event, and then you can specify the factions for which it will pop up. This is especially useful in Hot Seat, so that you don't get choice messages, for example, popping for every faction, as that can be quite problematic. It's also just good housekeeping to make sure they are available for only the factions that need them. You can use multiple historic event settings at the same time. There is nothing against doing that. Just make sure they follow the title and body format here, the title being the message's title and the body being what shows up in the message. You can also use the /n for a new line and /n/n for a new paragraph in this file. You can see the file path if I hover over the thing here at the top. The campaign script file path I'll also show now, which I should have done in the last episode, but alas. Then we come on to complex monitors, such as general capture settlement, building completed, and character turn start/end. I will show you an example of each. Here we have monitor event building completed, then the identifier settlement building finished, and then the building type, which is taken from the export description buildings file. I will show how all of these link together in the next tutorial. It will here give us a historic event, set a counter, destroy some units. If the ancillary exists, it'll kill the character, and then it ends the if, terminates the monitor so it can only trigger once, and ends there. That's basically how the building completed monitor works. Then we have the character selected monitor, which is, again, the statement, the identifier, the condition, has the ancillary type Barrow, which is found in the export description ancillaries, or the EDA for short. Then it has another condition, if the event counter, I will get onto these in the next tutorial, never fear, Barrow is restored, is equal to 1, then it will remove the ancillary from the character selected, Barrow, and if that ancillary does not exist, it will terminate the monitor, end the if statement, and stop the monitor from firing again. The next one on our list is general capture settlement. Here we have a monitor, the general capture settlement. The settlement, this has to follow this format here. General capture settlement, settlement name, and then the name of the region in the description regions file. I will get onto how those link together in the next episode again. We have the other conditions, the if statement, and the other things we talked about last time. Or earlier in this, no, it was last time. Spawning armies was last time. This is also a simple monitor to use, but it's technically a complex monitor because it will require other conditions. I don't actually have a character turn end or beginning, end or start in this campaign, in my own mod, Conflicts of Variedal, so I will divert over to the Divide and Conquer campaign script, where we will find character turn end down here. It monitors the event for when the character's turn ends, and the identifier here can be a label, it can be an ancillary, or it can be a trait. Actually, I think it has to be a trait or label used here. If the character has the trait Saruman, it will then trigger the monitor. And it can only trigger once, which in this case is if the faction is not France, it will give Saruman the One Ring. And then it ends and terminates. Then we have character turn start, which is in the same format. Character turn start, character is local, which means it's a player character. And then a large list of conditions, which have some fairly complex settings for it. Then it will do the rest of the statement. These ones are almost identical in function to the faction turn start, faction turn end, and settlement turn start. I think is all, yes, settlement turn start and settlement turn end. They all do the same thing, just for different classes of things. Then we have character turn end in settlement, which is only used for complex scripts like this one, the ring script I believe we're in at the moment. Yes, indeed. It has the monitor, the character turn end in settlement, and assuming the settlement name is Gorgoros. And these conditions, if not... undo that. If this is not true, it will terminate the monitor. If it is true, then it ends the counter there, terminates the monitor again, and sets the counter here, ends the monitor. These ones usually only trigger once, but not always. That concludes the complex monitors that I will be going over in some form of depth today with you, and also concludes the list of things I was going to be teaching today. I hope I have been fairly clear and concise. I must admit, teaching is not my strong point, but I have done the best I can. The next tutorial will go over choices, namely choice events, and the links to other files, such as the EDB, Export Description Buildings, the EDCT, and the EDA, as well as description regions. Command Assault over and out.